trying to get, what are we actually doing out here? The answer is it doesn't really matter. You're out here to experiment and to listen to your environment. That's one of the things too. So don't be completely obsessed with looking at your H4s and thinking about other stuff. Like, try to take a moment in the day to actually just listen. That's kind of one of the cool things about doing this. And you're going to amplify your surroundings and listen to it on headphones, which is a weird experience that you can enjoy. You guys should all smile and wave at the camera. Sorry, I know you're busy.
I have learned that organisation is key. Yeah, I felt that I realised that I am, I feel like I've grown in this area. I would like to grow more. I realise that it's so important in this industry to be completely organised and manage your time properly.
The time management wasn't too bad, but I probably made it more difficult for myself because I had an original plan which I abandoned partway through the process and sort of started from scratch again. So it only left touch over 2 weeks to write the song from scratch and record it. But that was kind of good because it made me commit to decisions in the songwriting process, and that instead of trying like 100 different ways to do something, I pretty much just had to run with something pretty quick. So yeah, in one way it was good. I think the time management side of it's probably still yet to be fully resolved with the fusion track part, because we're yet to do that, about to start that now. So it's going to be a relatively short window of time to do that and to put a lot of sound design things into place as well. So yeah, it's looking forward to that challenge. Should be good.
I think better than I have done in the past, but obviously there's still always room for improvement.
I think it was the same as Aiden, like better than I have been in the past, but at the same time it was pretty hard with like a big class definitely in this studio.
Started really early, like week 4 or week 5, tracking and recording and sort of organising that side of things. So it went pretty good. I found that I had a fair bit of time at the end to sort of decide how I wanted my mix to turn out. The only sort of downside was the availability of the Neve studio sort of stressed me out a little bit because I couldn't get in when I wanted to do a mix. But overall, yeah, at the moment it's been pretty good.
I need to be a bit better, right?
Yeah.
I think we stressed out a lot, but we pulled it off in the end.
Yeah, we got it all done.
Sort of just we had to cut class a few times, but yeah, I think like once we stopped stressing about it, we kind of realised that it's not that hectic, and we kind of pulled it off in the end.
Cool.
Well, she chose me to work with her.
I just saw her and I said, yep, you're the one.
So
and now we're best friends. End of the story.
That was pretty easy, but and we worked with Doug as well, and that was easy as well.
Yeah, having a third person, even though we didn't really cite him as a group member, it was really helpful to just have like a little sidekick.
And when Omkar helped us, that was really good too, because he has another view of it. Like he was giving us tips.
Yeah, helped us like change our perspective of the song. Yeah. Together we worked quite efficiently.
Yeah.
Like, we coordinated. We worked out almost instantly what we like to do, and how the other person would work. And we just got into a rhythm straight away. Yeah.
Yeah. The good thing is that we talk a lot to each other, so we always tell our ideas and
communicating.
Yeah.
We always work well together.
No dramas. Everything is
Same
pretty
wavelength.
smooth. Think alike, good team.
Cool.
Yeah, pretty much evenly shared amongst the group.
Evenly spread.
Assisted each other.
We're a helping hand and a call away.
Yep.
The team.
pretty painless working with these boys.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the only difficulties with group work is always everyone having free time at the same time. Just making sure everyone can be there when we need people to be there and that sort of stuff.
Did you guys have like a specific role, or did you just share roles, or?
We kind of all, because we've all done our own track, and then we kind of just assisted on everyone else's tracks. Like, I was in there helping Gussie record vocals and play drums on the other boys' tracks and stuff like that, and they were there helping me when I was tracking things.
Yeah.
I'll bring it back to everyone.
Thank you.
Brad shredding.
So I helped John and Helena with their sessions, and I learned heaps about drum miking and session management, so that was great for me. And I got a bit more familiar with the studio, so I was comfortable going in there with my own artist. So yeah, it's good to help out.
I found it interesting to see how other people within the group, like when I helped with the metal track, how they operate. So, again, I wouldn't say it's difficulty that I found, but it was just interesting to see how different people work. Someone else's opinion, even though it may not be your own opinion, it may work better.
Build a chamber that captures things that's that quarter length long. It means that it can't phase cancel itself out again, which is kind of crazy.
A good way to is like I just do one pointing on the camera and then just connect the other one.
What one is that? The fourth one? AC? AC.
This is
Was cool to be involved with other people's sessions a little bit as well. I played bass on another track, which was kind of cool to sort of see it from the musician perspective with someone else's material.
When we were recording in the studio, we just split it between us. Like,
pretty much.
If one of us was doing one thing, the other person was doing
it was
something.
whatever happened.
Trying to get my musicians to play to a click track was pretty hard. Like, we had this idea for a track, and they sort of only wrote it about a week before they came into the studio, so it was a bit all over the shop. I had to drop that track and choose. Luckily, I had recorded about 3 tracks, so I had a few to pick from.
Probably having to learn the song that Chippy made within like such a small amount of time, like that was pretty hard for me, because I was actually learning parts of it while in the studio too, and it's pretty stressful.
For Omni, it's less important because they're not directional.
Having to sort of do pre-production out of class and sort of try and get an idea of what we were making before it actually came time to record something. That would probably be the biggest difficulty, seeing as
I had a couple of issues with vocal tracking and gain staging, and that sort of resulted in some noise in my vocal tracks. So kind of working with that and sort of knowing how to deal with vocalists a bit better.
Personally, I would say probably sort of like creative limitations, like being forced to actually come up with something when I don't necessarily, there wasn't anything really there naturally ready to come up with, so I sort of had to force myself to be creative, and in the end I didn't actually have to force myself to be creative, which is cool, so I just changed the whole way I was going to go about it and recorded somebody else's material.
Yeah, cool.
So,
Probably for me, when I came into doing a mix down, I was having a bit of trouble
just I was cool with the patching from the inserts, going in and out of the compressor stuff, but just the reverbs I just had to get like doing them on the aux. Like I got it. It didn't take me like too long to get, but just that was probably where I was like, oh, I definitely should have got in here a bit more and practiced a bit. But I think overall the project, like I've definitely sharpened up my skills a lot on everything. So yeah.
Our musician was probably the center of the difficulties because we found that he didn't have very good timing.
Yeah.
His timing was terrible, and we gave him a click track and hoped that that would help. We couldn't work out what time signature he was playing in. So in the end, we cut him off, got a drummer in, gave them the click, and then made him play to the drummer. We still have timing issues because it's Hendery, but at the same time, like, we worked around his faults to get what we wanted. And he learnt as well what he did wrong.
Yeah. What was hard is because he'd never been in a studio before, so it was like new for him and new for us. So there was a lot of things to learn at the same time.
And singing ourselves was
Yeah.
difficult. That was difficult.
That was hilarious though, because
Yeah.
we were like facing each other and like singing toward each other. That was really fun to do. And you had a good experience to be on the other side of the studio.
Yeah.
There are many actually. But the most difficult would be session management, because my sessions just ended up just way more than what the console can handle. So one of my sessions was around 52 channels and the other one was like around 48. So just stemming them down and just managing it as I record and just keeping a good log.
A room full of mic stands. This is our pets that we keep. We've got a stereo miking setup on the acoustic guitar, and because he plays a little bit sideways, like you can see the way the chair's sitting and the way the mics are. I'll come around the front.
Yes, he is.
This is a guy who knows what he's doing.
To a degree.
To a degree. Get it? Because we're doing a degree.
The most difficult part's probably yet to come for me. The studio part I'm reasonably comfortable with. The time management side is obviously a challenge for everyone, but the Ableton side is where I'm probably least comfortable, and I've never remixed anything ever before, so trying to build something out of other people's material and have to rework that, yeah, that's new territory for me.
Basically just mixing, like I'd never done multi-track recordings before, so it was all new to me, patching and mixing and getting it all together was sick, so yeah.
What I found difficult was actually getting the amount of work and the quality of work done in the time.
Learning Ableton is because that's all new to me, so that was a key skill that I had to sort of attain. Once again, sort of working with musicians and trying to get the best best performance out of musicians is always a pretty tough one, which I'm slowly getting better at. Setting up and miking drums. Once again, I did that last try, but each time you do it, you learn a bit more and you gain more experience. So, yeah, they're probably some of the key skills.
Key skills in this production, first was major communications, because this is the first project I'm actually using a producer role, a composer role. Basically, I'm doing the whole thing from start to finish. So communications was something I wanted to improve on since last trimester. So I felt like communication was a huge aspect for that.
Some of the key skills that I would have learnt would have definitely been, guess how to use synthesizers and make electronic music.
There are a heap of skills I learnt that I didn't have like prior to this, so especially with sampling and synthesis and that sort of stuff. Like at the start of this, if someone told me to make a song out of elements from other people's songs, I wouldn't even know where to start.
Okay, well, we're having problems with our bass and kick drum masking, and so we're trying to get a ducker out of this Focusrite by side chaining the kick drum to the bass guitar's compressor. So it's going to make it duck.
Make it duck.
I think something that I found I learnt a lot was EQing. Like I've never really looked at EQing in depth.
Yeah.
And in this situation we had to do a lot of it because, well, we had pretty good signals, but at the same time there was like a lot of muddiness. We had so many mids.
Yeah.
So just learning to EQ so that nothing was masking.
Yeah, what I like was when we tried a different microphone and when we were like moving them around.
Yeah.
And I was with the headphones, like in the live room and hearing how the sound was different.
Yeah.
Basically how to record on a board. Like I'd done all my mixing in the box previously, and I found mixing on the desk was sick. Like you feel like you're in the mix and you actually get it. So instead of just looking at some meters and listening on cans, like having the speaker set was really cool.
Probably for me, Ableton. Yeah. Use of that, I've found that really good. Like, I was actually at Fruity Loops a lot before, and now I've completely converted. So for me, that's one of my most important skills I've learned across this trimester.
Okay, yeah, the key skills that I have used in the multi-track are definitely to do with the console. So I've really picked up more skills on the Neve in the studio, learning from just using it more, I guess, than I did last try. I feel that I've gotten quite comfortable due to how I learnt with the signal flow.
Generally managing takes pretty quickly on the desk was one thing. I was helping other people on their sessions as well as my track, and on those sessions in particular, because I wasn't playing, I was able to be at the desk and definitely learn a lot about really quickly organising things in Pro Tools on the desk and be able to keep the flow of the session moving really quickly, which was pretty important because we're on a really tight schedule with one of the drum sessions. So that.
And just to keep, because it's like 3 tracks. What's that?
A couple of them would be better time management, better communication skills, better creative skills. So I was a bit resistant on using Ableton this trimester. I hope of not using that fear of using a new software. I'm planning on just building that onto it.
The whole process is just amazing, guys.
Yeah.
Probably time management again.
Yeah.
Making sure the artist is on time, and having a backup artist is definitely going to help for us next time.
I would like to get faster at applying external effects. So from the outboard gear, just get a bit faster.
Yep.
And especially in mixing as well, get faster in that.
No, I did everything perfect.
I think I probably need to do some more work on mic positioning for guitars. I use several mics when I track guitars, and I had a bit of phasing issues with some of them. So I ended up only using two mics, and where I had positioned them, they were almost perfectly out of phase, which worked okay because I was able to phase flip one of them, and then they came in quite good. But I think that's something I can still experiment with and still learn a bit from. The drum mic positioning, I thought, like, I've done that a few times now, and I think I'm getting that to a point where it's pretty consistent. I'm pretty happy with the results for the drums. But yeah, I think guitar miking and miking the cabs is something I can still experiment with a bit more.
Now we have the male rap part for my multi-track. Woohoo!
I was working with a friend to write the song and plays in a band, and no, that was really fun. Like, he's pretty new to music, and I got to teach him about the studio and all of that, and yeah, so we both got to learn at the same time, which is really good.
Yeah, I discovered I can actually write good stuff, decent stuff, not good, but yeah, I actually want to build onto that, just get into more musical building stuff and more composing stuff.
But overall, the studio production's been good. It's been good fun getting to learn this bad boy. She's been a beast of a thing, beast of a man, eh?
Beast of a man, yeah. No, she's been good.
She's been good.
I think it's all good, yeah. Everything's sweet.
We're starting to fall in love with her, aren't we?
Yeah. We've got a bit of a connection with the desk now, so
yeah, she's working well.
Just can't wait to get in and learn it a bit more intimately, a bit closer.
But no, I'm really just looking forward to the second half of it, where we get into the electronic music production side of things. I mean, you know, we've been doing so much studio stuff, you know, in the previous tries, so it'll be nice to sort of branch out a bit into something not so studio based.
New track with blends of 4 or 5 other people's songs, so it's going to be a huge challenge. I'm hopefully going to use some of the skills I've picked up with Ableton Live and stuff like that, and hopefully create something I'm very proud of.
I think this is like a really well-rounded package for students, because since the time when we start studying over here, it's always been for recording and more production kind of role. This is the first main entry where you get into composing stuff, where you have the chance to compose stuff. And yeah, I think this is kind of well laid out for that, because you have enough space for the creative mind to work, and you don't have really pressures of assignments and stuff. So overall, it's just a well-rounded unit.
I reckon it went pretty smoothly overall. Like, I know we're still sort of finding out some last minute things, but I mean, I think everyone sort of communicated pretty well. Like, I just came into the class, didn't know anyone, and it was pretty easy to sit down and be like, hey, so what do you want to create? Like, and this is like day one. Yeah.
I had a really good time making something that was within my realm, but then also after having to create something that's totally out of my realm, and learning all these new skills, and just it had lots of familiar aspects, but so much of it I hadn't done before, which was creatively driving.
I think it's all going pretty smooth. I think the concept that we came up with for the project is quite interesting and challenging, and covers Pro Tools, Ableton, the studio, and a lot of EMP and sound design technical aspects. So I think it's a good project for us to learn things in, you know, wherever our strengths may not be between all those different areas. So I think there's definitely something that each person will be able to take away from it. So yeah, very beneficial.
It's pretty hectic.
So
pretty
fun. I just think doing it, like, splitting it up in the trimester is a bit hectic, I think. But I guess it kind of makes us look forward to the remaining couple of weeks where we can sort of not relax entirely, but sort of have a little bit more fun with it instead of being in the studio to the very end, I guess. So the Neve's so much fun than those two are.
Yeah, without a doubt.
Or the Eurodesk.
No layers. Pretty good.
That I'm sort of happy that we've been able to complete this as a group project, and that we've done something bigger than before, and you know, I feel like I've sort of grown in that area.
In a good way?
Yeah, it's an interesting question because the group's been fairly sort of functional and close right from the beginning, but I think it has changed throughout the trimester, particularly through the workshops, group meetings, and just through being involved in the project and being responsible for everyone's individual roles within that. Particularly after the Minion Falls field trip, I felt like there was more of a camaraderie and sort of trust between the group members. Yeah, positive change, but interestingly the group started off pretty solid, which is rare. Through the planning and development stages, using timelines, setting up the communication channels like Trello, and generally just through everyone's dedication to the project. Also through the roles, I think that having clearly defined roles for the non-audio parts of the project helped the success of it in terms of organisation and keeping it moving. I think one of the things that I would have liked to see more of is a little bit more consistency through different group members' participation. So there were people who I thought put in significantly more energy than other people, and I felt like if everyone was more even in terms of what they put in, would perhaps boost the results further. Even though I mentioned that communication was quite good, still think there was room for improvement in a similar way that some people were less active than others. So you might post something on Trello and not get as many responses as you'd hoped. One other thing just on that in terms of what I potentially would have liked to see a bit more of is just a deeper focus on study and practice outside of class time. I felt like the increase in skill levels from week to week could have been more significant through self-directed practice. I think there's a lot of creativity going on in musically, and also experimentation in recording and mixing techniques. Very varied results. So some that needed still a lot of work, to some that were sort of finished products, essentially almost ready for release. The general overall standard I thought was good, with some areas for improvement from some students.
Alright, recording.
Alright, here we go. Alright, Maxi.
About your actual project, like the
I'm awesome.
artistic.
That's it.
How's that going for you, Max?
Yeah, it sucks when you can't actually do that.
Slacking off, fellas.
Too many cooks in the kitchen.
Just gonna do a
I'm
close
taking
up.
it all that's going on.
Got a nice close up of that.
Just
didn't really learn a whole lot, did we? Nah,
I think it might be time lapse. It'll look sick if it just comes out like.
We out. Well said, boys.